Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're launching a full-on forensic investigation into the deep blue sea. For thousands of years, sailors told these absolutely wild stories of colossal, tentacled beasts and massive serpents that could literally drag entire ships beneath the waves. And, well, why wouldn't they? The ocean is dark, it's deep, and quite frankly, it can be absolutely terrifying. So we're going to dive right in and look at how our ancestors' deepest ocean fears morphed into legendary monsters and how modern science finally managed to unmask them.
Picture this. It's 1734. You're an early sailor, staring out into the vast, treacherous, and largely unknown ocean. To you, the line between an ordinary marine animal and a mythical monster doesn't even exist yet. It's all just the great unknown. Then, you see exactly what Hans Ageda described. A most terrible creature, resembling nothing they saw before. The monster was longer than our whole ship. You know, it's so easy for us today to sit back and dismiss sea monsters as pure fantasy, but we really have to put ourselves in the shoes of those early navigators. For them, an encounter with literally any unknown animal in the open sea had the potential to spark a terrifying legend.
Section 1. Monsters on the Map, the Cartographer's Nightmares.
To truly wrap our heads around this historical fear, we have to look all the way back to the 16th century. Back then, the ocean wasn't just a place of natural dread, it was this intense realm of political and existential terror. Just take a look at the monsters drawn on the 1539 Carta Marina by Olaus Magnus. These weren't just decorative space fillers to make the map look pretty, not at all. Olaus deliberately populated the waters of northern Europe with these vivid, terrifying creatures to promote maritime awareness and a profound sense of awe. He wanted to show the world that the northern seas were packed with life and danger, transforming these hand-drawn monsters into powerful cultural symbols.
When we actually break down the specific traditions Olaus Magnus drew from, it's this fascinating blend of cultures. First up, we've got the 300-foot-long sea serpent, drawn literally lunging at helpless sailors. This came straight out of Norse mythology, symbolizing a deep-seated fear of political upheaval and catastrophic destruction. Then there's Charybdis, a giant whirlpool beast pulled right from classical Greek texts to represent the ocean's relentless, overpowering force. And finally, the sea unicorn. It sounds almost comical to us today, but this was a genuine Renaissance attempt to reconcile ancient myth with actual, realistic natural observations. Olaus was seamlessly blending mythology, history, and the natural world to create a vision of the sea that was utterly perilous, yet incredibly marvelous.
Moving right along to Section 2. Unmasking the mighty Kraken, from myth to apex predator.
Tracking this specific beast across the centuries reveals an absolutely incredible history. The Kraken first pops up way back in the year 1180 in King Sverre's Nordic manuscript. By 1250, Icelandic sagas are calling it Havgufa, or sea mist. But here is the part that blows my mind. The legend was so powerful and so widely believed that in 1735, Carl Linnaeus, the actual father of modern biological taxonomy, was totally fooled. He officially classified the mythical Kraken in his prestigious scientific work as Microcosmos marinus. It literally took until the year 2004 for modern science to finally photograph a live giant squid in its natural habitat. That photo finally closed the loop on a centuries-old mystery that managed to trick even the brightest scientific minds.
So the real kicker here is how the terrifying myth stacks up against the biological reality. The folklore spoke of this ship-sinking monster that would swim in rapid circles to create a deadly maelstrom, dragging helpless sailors to an icy doom. But the biological reality? The Kraken is actually the giant squid, a highly elusive, deep-dwelling apex predator. It lives so far away from the surface world, in environments so extreme, so highly pressurized, and so pitch black that we barely understand them even today.
And the physical reality of the giant squid is honestly just as awe-inspiring as the myth. They can reach a staggering maximum length of 18 meters. To put that into perspective, that is roughly the length of a standard bowling lane just swimming around in the dark. They possess the largest eye in the entire animal kingdom, engineered perfectly to spot bioluminescence in the pitch-black abyss. And instead of creating massive whirlpools, they hunt with two specialized explosive tentacles that shoot forward with incredible acceleration. One strike in the dark and the hunt is completely over. No whirlpools required.
Section 3. The Mystery of Globsters, Bizarre Blobs on the Beach.
While the Kraken was a monster of the extreme deep, our investigation now shifts to a completely different, much closer type of sea cryptid. We're talking about the strange, fleshy, and sometimes surprisingly hairy masses that occasionally wash right up onto our beaches. These bizarre arrivals are known as globsters. Basically, a globster is an unidentified, amorphous mass of organic marine material. Now, what makes globsters entirely unique in the world of cryptids is that, unlike Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, globsters actually leave behind literal tons of rotting, foul-smelling physical evidence. You can walk right up to them, measure them, and, as science has advanced, physically take samples of them.
And thank goodness for that evidence, because with the advent of modern DNA testing and electron microscopy, we've systematically unmasked these gruesome arrivals. Take the Stronsay beast of 1808. It was originally hailed as a magnificent 55-foot sea serpent with a silky mane. The reality? It was actually just a highly decomposed, very slimy basking shark. Then there's the 1896 St. Augustine monster, thought to be a terrifying sea lion-headed octopus. Nope, nothing more than pure whale collagen. And that massive 13-ton Chilean blob found in 2003? DNA definitively proved it was just a gigantic, formless chunk of rotting sperm whale blubber. Kinda gross, but mystery solved.
But there's always one that gets away, right? What about Trunco? In 1922, a South African farmer claimed to see a 47-foot creature, completely covered in white hair, sporting a 5-foot trunk. And get this, it was reportedly actively fighting 2 whales off the coast. It supposedly washed ashore that night but was swept back out to sea 10 days later before any scientist could actually get down there and take a physical sample. Just imagine a massive hairy blob boxing with whales. Because we lack that crucial physical evidence, Trunco remains an unconfirmed, totally legendary outlier in the globster files.
Section 4. Famous historical sea serpents. Eyewitnesses and errors. That lack of physical evidence with Trunco brings us to our next fascinating topic, the eyewitnesses. Let me pose a historical mystery for you. In August of 1817, a group of men aboard the schooner Caravan were sailing off Gloucester, Massachusetts. Suddenly, they spotted a massive, 60-foot serpent-like creature with humps swimming right alongside their vessel. They were so utterly terrified they literally loaded and fired a cannon at it. Now, why would these experienced, hardened sailors react this way to something that supposedly doesn't exist? Let that mystery hang in the air for just a second.
When we compare those Gloucester's eyewitness reports to what modern science tells us, a really fascinating picture emerges. The witnesses reported a humped serpent, sometimes with a spear protruding from its head. Well, modern scientists offer a few highly plausible realities. That spear suggests it could have simply been a misidentified narwhal. Alternatively, and this is wild, historians recently suggested it could have been harpooned sperm whales, dragging massive, serpent-like trails of whaling debris and overturned rowboats behind them. In the heat of the moment, with your adrenaline pumping and panic setting in, skipping debris on the water looks exactly like a monster.
And other famous encounters really build on this psychological phenomenon. Back in the 1840s, the Royal Navy ship HMS Daedalus reported a massive sea serpent, a sighting that people still fiercely debate today. Then there's George Steller, a brilliant zoologist who in 1741 reported playing with a dog-headed sea ape for 2 whole hours. But we have to remember the context here. His ship was plagued with isolation, despair, and rampant scurvy. Those factors can play massive, massive tricks on the human mind. Yet, during that exact same voyage, Steller also discovered Steller sea cow. That was a very real, absolutely colossal, docile marine mammal. Sadly, it was so vulnerable it was hunted to complete extinction by humans in just 30 years.
Which brings us to our final section. Section 5. The Ocean's Real Titans. Bizarre Biological Realities. The tragic fate of the sea cow proves that while the myths of serpents and krakens were definitely wildly exaggerated, the actual realities of ocean biology are absolutely jaw-dropping. Take the oarfish, for example. This incredible creature can grow over 30 feet long. That makes it the longest bony fish on Earth. But what's truly bizarre is how it swims. Imagine a shimmering, metallic ribbon the length of a school bus floating completely vertically in the dark, deep ocean. Because it lives so deep, we very rarely see it. But when an injured or dying oarfish drifts up to the surface, its massive, undulating body almost certainly inspired countless tales of terrifying sea serpents.
The crucial point here is that nature's designs are often way weirder than fiction, especially when we look at prehistoric oceans. Just consider the Megalodon. This was a giant apex predator that ruled the seas simply because there was an absolute abundance of food. When the climate changed, the math stopped working, and it went extinct. Then there's the Helicoprion. This was a shark that didn't shed its teeth. Instead, it kept them all in a permanent, biological spiral buzzsaw. You literally can't make this stuff up. And we absolutely can't forget the Mosasaurus, a massive marine lizard built for explosive pursuit, featuring a secondary conveyor belt of teeth hidden in its palate just to ensure its prey could never, ever escape.
Ancient whales were honestly just as fearsome. On one side, we have the Basilosaurus. This was an elongated ancient whale that actually still possessed tiny hind legs left over from its land-dwelling ancestors. On the other side, you've got the Leviathan, a mammoth prehistoric predator sporting a 10-foot skull and massive teeth specifically designed to bite into and kill enormous animals. These creatures were perfectly, beautifully adapted for their specific moments in Earth's history, ruling the waters right up until the environment shifted beneath them.
All of this leaves us with one final, truly awe-inspiring thought. Today, science has successfully turned the mighty kraken into the giant squid, and it has turned legendary sea serpents into the vertical swimming oarfish. But consider this, roughly 80% of our ocean remains entirely unexplored by humans. If the terrifying myths of the past were just distorted reflections of real biological realities, what incredible, bizarre truths are still hiding right now in the pitch-black depths of our oceans? Keep exploring, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.